Hey, and welcome to the Star Wars 101 Book of Boba Fett Episode 7 Breakdown. I would rate this episode a 7.5 out of 10 because I enjoyed watching it and it had a lot of cool features that I liked, but at the same time I thought it was lacking a bit on the storyline. However, it was nice to see Boba Fett throughout the whole episode since the last two were based on the Mandalorian and Luke and Grogu. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below telling me what you think of this episode. And with all that said, let's dive in. The episode starts off with Boba and Fennec looking around the destroyed sanctuary. Boba finally confirms that they are at war, and Fennec responds, saying it was inevitable. Then the Mandalorian arrives, and they begin to talk about Cobb Vanth and the foot soldiers that they so desperately need. Boba asks what price he has to pay, and Mando tells him that it is free as long as the spice business is shut down. Once Mando says this, we begin to see a little bit of a darker side to Fennec Shand, as she wants to take over Jabba's spice business. But they eventually agree to shut it down. Boba decides that they should head back to his palace and wait for reinforcements. However, the two Mod Gang members that are with them say that they will not abandon Mos Espa and that they are staying where they are. Boba, seeing their passion for the city, changes his mind and stays with them. We then cut to a scene where Cad Bane arrives at a meeting between the mayor of Mos Espa and the leader of the Pikes. He is asked if his negotiations with Freetown were successful. Cad tells them that the people of Freetown won't be bothering them anymore. Later in the meeting, we find out that it was actually the Pikes who destroyed the Tuskens, and not the Speedbikers or Cad Bane. Bane then learns that Boba has made camp in the sanctuary, and tells the leader of the Pikes that he has an idea of how to draw him out. Next, we see an X-Wing entering the atmosphere. After it lands at Peli's place, it is revealed to be Grogu, with R2-D2 flying the ship. Now, if I'm going to be honest, when I first saw the X-Wing, I was really hoping it was going to be Luke inside, to see him finally touch ground on his home planet again after so many years. I thought it would be an awesome way to add more to the story, since Boba and Luke had a past together. And this scene also does reveal to us that Grogu must have chosen the Mandalorian armor. But anyway, Peli is glad to see him. She learns that his name is Grogu, and she gives him something to eat. Heading back to Boba and his crew, Fennec says that the Pikes cannot sneak up on them. And we see the Mod Gang, Black Chrysanthemum, and the Gamorrean guards placed at different stations throughout the city. However, after Fennec is done elaborating, someone does manage to sneak up on them. Outside, we see Cad Bane, who is there to negotiate on behalf of the Pikes. Boba tells him that they are outnumbered, and in response, Bane tells him that he paid Marshal Vanth a visit. Trying to egg him on into a shootout, Bane also tells him that the Pikes were the ones who massacred the Tuskens. But Fennec quickly talks Boba down, and Fett tells his enemy that the negotiations are over. Soon after, Boba gets a message from the Mod Gang, saying that things feel strange around their territory. All of a sudden, they realize that the local crime families have betrayed them, and organized a surprise attack against the Mod Gang, Black Chrysanthemum, and the Gamorrean guards. Realizing what is happening, Boba sends Fennec to try to assassinate the leader of the Pikes, but on her way, she helps out the Mod Gang, saving their lives. Later, the Pikes gather around Boba's camp, ready for an all-out battle. On the inside, Boba tells Mando that he should get out while he can. But Mando says he gave him his word, and because of that, he is bound by Creed to stay with him till they both fall. Boba asks him if he really buys into all that bantha fodder, clearly not having much respect for his creed. Mando proposes two options. They rush out and try to get to Boba's ship to escape, or they don't abandon Mos Espa and die in the name of honor. Choosing the second, Boba and Mando ready themselves to attack. However, the mayor's assistant interrupts, telling Boba that if he wants, he can try to negotiate their surrender. Seeing an opportunity to catch the Pikes by surprise, he writes his terms on a pad and sends the mayor's assistant out to negotiate. During the Twi'lek's conversation with the Pikes, he also mentions how he would love to see the obsidian cliffs of Obadiah with his own eyes someday. This is a reference to the Pikes' homeworld, which we see in Solo, A Star Wars Story, and in the Clone Wars. When the Twi'lek is asked to read the terms, he finds that Boba wrote nothing more than an insult to the Pikes. All at once, Boba and Mando come flying around the corner of the building with their jetpacks, taking out multiple Pikes with their blasters. They land in front of the building, and while taking multiple shots to their Beskar armor, they use every trick up their sleeve to stay in the fight. Now, I thought this scene was really cool to see Din and Boba going back to back against a whole garrison of Pikes, using their full abilities, wildly outnumbered but still toughing it out. However, eventually things do get too hot for them to handle, and they are rescued by the ground troops from Freetown, riding a speeder. Right after, the mod gang also arrives, taking cover behind the speeder with the rest. Also, an injured Chrysanthemum arrives, and Boba helps him take cover. Eventually, the pikes start falling back, and everyone is happy. Although, Mando notices something else coming, and it is revealed to be two gigantic Scorpionic Annihilator droids. Now, my initial thought to this droid was that it looked like something out of KOTOR, with the big frame, the metallic look, and the huge energy shield. Although they weren't used in KOTOR, they were used in the Clone Wars, and were a devastating force. As the droids advanced, Boba sent the ground troops away, telling them that he would distract the droids with Mando. Boba and Mando tried to use rockets, blasters, flamethrowers, and even the Darksaber to try to penetrate the shield, but at every attempt, they failed. While fighting, Mando notices that high-velocity attacks cannot get past the energy shield, which reminds me of an episode of the Clone Wars where Ahsoka Tano teaches the rebels on Onderon how to slowly roll a droid disabler underneath the shield of a droideka. Boba asks Mando to protect the others and flies away. Mando successfully leads one of the droids away from the ground troops' retreat, but while running, he runs into Peli Motto and Grogu on a transportation cart. Meanwhile, Boba's troops barricade themselves behind a wall, surrounded by pikes and one of the droids. While escaping, Peli, Grogu, and Din are blown off of the transportation cart by blaster fire from the droid. Things aren't looking good and they start trying to take shelter when the droid stops, and they hear a noise. Out from behind the buildings, Boba is seen riding the Rancor. He starts to rain down a heavy beating upon the droid, and when Mando sees its shield in the back weaken, he takes the Darksaber and cuts off one of its blasters and stabs it in the head. However, after knocking back the Rancor, the droid shakes Mando off and starts to limp around to kill him. With one of its front legs, it deals a heavy blow to Mando's leg, but as it is readying for the killing blow, Grogu saves Mando using the Force to break apart one of its legs. Right after, Boba and the Rancor come back and tear apart the droid. Next, we see the mod gang and the ground troops giving their best efforts to hold off the pikes and the droid. All of a sudden, Boba and the Rancor come crashing in, and after a long, tough fight with the droid, they destroy it. The Mandalorian, along with the rest, follow up their great victory by chasing the pikes as they retreat. Later, Boba and the Rancor run into Cad Bane, and Bane uses his flamethrower to knock Boba off. Bane then scares off the Rancor and toys with Boba once again, asking him what his angle is and telling him that he abandoned the Tuskens. Boba tells Bane not to toy with him, and that he isn't a little boy any longer, and that Bane is an old man now. To this, Bane says that he is still faster than him, and Boba says that he has armor. The two face off, once again calling back to the unfinished episode of the Clone Wars where they did the same thing and shot each other in the head. Once they draw, Bane is quicker and knocks him over with a blaster bolt. While being taunted by Bane, Boba sprays fire from his flamethrower, which Bane rolls under, and comes back up, knocking him over with another shot. Still taunting Boba, Bane kicks him while he's on the ground and rips his helmet off, standing above him. Raising his blaster to Boba's face, he says, "Consider this my final lesson. Look out for yourself. Anything else is weakness." However, before Cad Bane shoots, Boba uses his gaffy stick to knock the blaster from his hand, and forces Bane to the ground. While laying on the ground, Bane says, "I always knew you were a killer," before trying to spray him with his flamethrower. Although, Boba knocks it out of the way again, and stabs Bane through the chest, killing the bounty hunter. Later, we see the Rancor, which has gone on a wild rampage. Mando hands Grogu to Peli and tries to take control of the beast, but is eventually knocked to the ground. Right when the Rancor is about to kill Din, Grogu slips from Peli's grasp and uses the Force to calm it down. Now this Force ability is actually called Beast Control, and was something both Anakin Skywalker and Ezra Bridger were very good at. And even though Grogu had already used it a few times, I wonder if he got a few additional tips from Ahsoka Tano, since she knew both Anakin and Ezra. Meanwhile, at the Pike's headquarters, Fennec Shand assassinates all the leaders of the Tatooine crime families, along with the leader of the Pikes and the mayor. In the next scene, Boba and Fennec are walking through the streets of Mos Espa, and being greeted nicely by all the locals. After one of the townsfolk hands him a Malarun fruit, Boba tells Fennec that he doesn't think they're cut out for this. So even though he does look happy here, it makes me wonder if we get a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, if he will hand off the leadership to someone else. Boba and Fennec then see Chrysanthemum and the Mod Gang on the streets, and when they meet, Boba throws the fruit to Chrysanthemum. In the final scene before the credits, the Mandalorian and Grogu are leaving Tatooine, and Grogu bugs Din to use his new ship to burst off into hyperspace. And I have to say, this scene really made me excited for Mando Season 3. But anyway, in the post-credit scene, we pretty much just see Vanth in Boba's Bacta tank, with one of the Mod Gang members standing above him looking like he's getting ready to give him some modifications. So, he is still alive, and if we get a Season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, maybe Boba will hand the leadership to Vanth. So, that's it for this breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like I said before, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to leave a comment down below telling me what you thought of this episode. Overall, I did enjoy the episode, but I thought there could have been a little bit more to the storyline. And the post-credits scene was a little plain, too. I thought they could have done something just a little more exciting. But with all that said, I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day.